The Houston Independent School District is considered a property wealthy district, and we must send a portion of our local property taxes to the state. In the upcoming school year, our recapture payment will be $162 million, which means about $500,000 per school. Recapture caused a $95 million shortfall in the 2016-17 budget. We balanced the budget by cutting from schools and the central office. Here to tell us about Recapture, the school finance system, and its impact on HISD are General Manager of Budgeting and Financial Planning, Glenn Reed, and Director of Government Relations, Ashlea Graves. Ashlea and Glenn, please explain to us what is Recapture. How was it created and when did it begin?
Sure. So thank you for having us today, President Rodriguez. It's good to be here with you. Recapture is a concept that the state legislature created back in 1993 to equalize funding between property-rich and property-poor districts. There had been several lawsuits before that the Supreme Court heard regarding equalizing funding, and this was an attempt that the legislature made to close those gaps.
What the legislature did was they created what they called a guaranteed yield for poor school districts per penny of tax effort that they generated through their property taxes. So if they weren't able to collect enough property taxes to get them to a certain level, which was that guaranteed yield, the state would make up the difference. And then on the flip side, those school districts that were wealthy, that went over this wealth level, they would recapture those dollars and then use those to distribute to those poor school districts. So that was how Robin Hood started, was taking from the rich districts and giving those funds to the poor school districts.
So who declares a rich school district and why?
It is based off the school funding, state funding system. The legislature actually makes that determination, and they set that value. So basically what happens is the legislature each year assigns a basic allotment, which means that's how much the state legislature is going to fund school districts in the state. If you go over that number, then the state recaptures a portion of that. What's interesting about how that works now is if the state legislature increases that basic allotment, that means the state legislature puts more money into public education. If they leave it alone, or if they reduce that number, then the state is not having to put more money in. If they reduce it, they put less money in. So it can really be, if they just leave it alone, because of property values growing throughout the state, it can really become a revenue generator for the state.
Ashley, we hear that a lot of districts are going into Recapture. Can you tell us how many districts are going into Recapture?
Yes, so HISD, along with about 243 districts, are now subject to paying Recapture as of the 2015 legislative session. Back in 1994, or fiscal year 1994, when the system was created, only 32 school districts were paying Recapture. So we've seen a huge increase from 32 to 243 districts now paying Recapture, mainly because of the outdated school finance system and the growing economy.
And you say now 200 plus are in Recapture.
That's right, so about 20%.
And this is, I would guess, a sign that Texas has a fairly robust economy over the rest of the country, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So Glenn, as local tax revenues increase, as you indicated, the state share decreases. How does that work?
So as that guaranteed yield number is the level the state funds up to. So as an HISD taxpayer, when you pay a higher tax bill, for example, that just means the state does not have to send as much money to HISD because we have more money locally to fund public education. So it's a balancing act between the state and local. So that's why there are so many more school districts in Recapture, because the economy has grown throughout the state, property values have grown, so the state no longer has to put as much in because more and more is being funded locally.
Well, as I understand, HISD has the lowest tax rate in Harris County.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And one of the reasons that our property owners pay a larger tax bill at the end of the year is because their property value has gone up, not because of our tax rate has gone up. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so when our evaluation of our property goes up, you're saying that state gives us less.
That is correct.
And the state has also said that because we have a homeowner's exemption, that we really don't need any more money from the state.
Well, it's not based off the homeowner's exemption, but that 20% homeowner's exemption that we provide homeowners in Houston is not recognized by the state. So they pretend it doesn't exist, and that actually causes our recapture payment to be higher. So we are paying recapture on taxes that we don't actually collect in HISD. So in 2015, the state received about $1.3 billion. That was about 5.8% of the, I'm sorry, $2.3 billion, about 5.8% of the state's program. In 2016, it's projected to be about $3.9 billion. So, which is 9.1%. So that's where you can see as recapture grows from 5.8% the previous year to 9.1%, that just means that other 92% state funds has gone down, right? So it continues to decrease.
And the only way HISD can get more money is that if we get more students, or if our property value goes down.
Right.
Or if the state upgrades the system, because a lot of the weights that are tied to the school finance system haven't been updated since the 80s or even early 90s. So you're talking about decades old weights for specialty populations that could help English language learners, that could help economically disadvantaged kids, and they're fiercely outdated.
And special needs students.
And special needs students as well, that's right.
Okay. Ashley, when is the next time we can go to the legislature to fight for more monies and more funds?
Great question. So next session starts January of 2017. And so my team, along with the finance division led by Sherry Robinson and Glenn Reed, we will be talking a lot about this next session. This will be our chief priority for the district, is to try to find a solution for recapture.
So we're actually forming our legislative agenda right now.
That's
to
right.
Start talking to our legislatures on why that cap needs to be raised.
That's right.
Okay, wow. Glenn, what options do we have if we have to do this recapture? What do we have? What options do we have?
So there are actually 5 options available to school districts. There are only 2 of them that really are viable for HISD to do. The first one is to actually write a check to the state. And that one requires voter approval. So we would have to take that to the November election to get approval for voters to send those funds back to the state. The second option is detachment of property.
Wait. If the voters don't want to do this, that's what we talk about, detachment of property?
Yes, if they do not approve it.
And what is detachment of property?
So detachment of property means the commissioner will come in and they will take parcels of non-residential properties, like downtown properties, and they will start giving them to other school districts that are poor, and to raise their value. What that means, though, is that you could, there's no one district that would be able to take all of the downtown value or all the property value we need to reduce by, which is about $18 billion. So we could have downtown, for example, it could be paying taxes to 10 different school districts. They might be in Houston area, they might be in the Valley. And they would also pay the tax rate of those districts.
So if they're paying a higher tax rate here, and they were detached to a poor district, and that poor district has a lower tax rate, they would actually be paying less taxes than they're paying here in Houston.
They would. The HISD actually has one of the lowest in the state. So more likely is they're going to be going to a higher tax rate. Most districts, for example, are maxed out on a lot of districts are maxed out on their debt rate. We have a 15-cent rate. A lot of districts have 50 cents. So you can see right there could be a very big difference in rates that a property would pay.
Well, thank you both for joining me today and explaining this complicated formula that we have here, and hopefully our property owners and stakeholders can come to the aid and talk to their legislators, and maybe we can work on this problem that we have here in HISD in Texas.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.